Welcome back. Stretching from Key West to Kendall, the 26th Congressional District is expected to be one of the most hotly contested races in the country. The seat is currently held by Republican Mucarsel-Powell, but this is a district Hillary Clinton won by 16 points, and it heavily favors Democrats. Debbie Mucarsel-Powell is hoping she is that Democrat.
While families struggle to make ends meet, Congress does nothing. While students struggle to find an education they can afford, Congress does nothing. And while all of us fight to provide the health care for those who we love, Congress does worse than nothing. They vote to make it harder and more expensive for us to get.
All right, Mucarsel-Powell joins us now. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Jim, for having me today.
Sure. There's a number of things I want to get to. Let's start with your background. You came to this country with your family from Ecuador. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So I came when I was 14 with my mom. She brought us here, and my sisters, really looking for better opportunities for her. And she was able to get 2 jobs. She would study English at night, on the weekends. I got my first job at the age of 15. I started working at a donut shop. I ate a lot of donuts during my high school years, but through that hard work, I was able to get a scholarship and attend college. But, you know, my story is not unique. I share that story with millions of Americans, whether you're a first-generation American or a third-generation American. We come here looking for better opportunities. And I have been watching and seeing for the past few years how those opportunities are slipping away for too many families, especially in District 26. And so I've worked most of my career at FIU, and I was part of a team that helped create, and I brought resources to create the Neighborhood Health Program, which provides life-saving care. We go out with teams of students that go out to the most vulnerable communities in Miami-Dade County, and we provide health care access and education to these families.
So let's take on health care for a second.
Yeah.
Congressman Curbelo voted to repeal Obamacare. Do you think that was the right decision?
So when I saw that he did that, that was a personal issue for me. It was personal because I've dedicated so many years of my career to making sure that we improve the lives of so many people here in this community. He actually voted to repeal the Affordable Care Act in a district where we have the second largest number of people enrolled in the ACA, in Florida District 26. He was voting specifically against the interests of these families. I have had many conversations with many families across the district that are enrolled in the ACA. It may not be the perfect solution, but it's something that they have. They didn't have health care before. And for the first time in years, there was a man that he was 38 years old. He had never had health care, and he was able to participate in the ACA. So why do that? Why vote against your constituents' interests? So I took that vote very personal.
In watching that was a clip from that we played a second ago from your introductory ad. It talks a little bit about your background, health care, climate change, the issues that you feel important about.
Yes.
But I will tell you that looking at your website, there's no policy. There's no issues on there yet. It seems to me that the main argument you're making is you're running against Congress. But what are you for?
No, listen. I have dedicated my entire career for the past 20 years looking at issues that are affecting our communities. Okay, I started working in non-for-profits, and then I went on to FIU working to try to obtain scholarships for minority students. We service the highest number of minority students, first-generation Americans. I have worked to make sure that we look at how we can deal with the health outcomes of this community.
But my point is I don't see your policies yet on your website. And so therefore, how is a voter supposed to know what it is you stand for?
So Jim, I have been working right now with my team making sure that we put those up, and I can assure you that next week, I mean, they're working on it. We're going to have it next.
All right, let's turn
next week. They'll be up on the website.
Obviously, we're in the midst of next week. Also next week, we're expected that the Congress, the House, and the Senate will pass a tax plan. Carlos Curbelo, the Republican, as a member of the Ways and Means Committee. Carlos Curbelo helped write this tax plan. He is very, very proud of it, and I want to play a little bit of sound. This was from a press conference that the House members held right after the House passed its version of tax reform. Let's play that now.
Today's a big day for so many in this country, especially for those who have been struggling to get by, who haven't been able to get ahead, who have read about the economic recovery for years, but have never experienced it. Today is a great day for them.
He says this bill will help, put money in people's pockets. He is standing there shoulder to shoulder with Paul Ryan and the House leadership. Is this not a good bill?
Absolutely not. Let me tell you something. For all the bipartisan talk that he uses, guess how many Democrats have signed on to this horrendous bill? 0. Okay, we have no bipartisan
politics,
support,
though.
but there's a reason for that, and it's because it benefits the top 1%. This bill not only adds trillions of dollars to the deficit, but it is specifically catering to the special interest groups that are helping them write this bill, by the way. So it takes away all of the deductions that middle-class families can use, including deductions for teachers that, when they purchase their supplies for their classrooms, they can use that deduction. Student debt deduction is taken away. Home mortgage deduction, loans are taken away. Also, medical expense deductions are taken away from this bill.
He voted for all of that.
Yes. Well, he's one of the people that actually helped write the plan. Right. So when he says this is a great day for America, I would respond by saying, Congressman, I think you're saying this is a great day for your donors and the people that you're actually working for, not the families of District 26.
The perception, though, of Carlos Curbelo is that he is fairly moderate, that he's good on issues when it comes to gay rights, climate change. He's tried to create, the Problem Solvers Caucus. He's part of that. He seems to be good on a lot of issues. So is there really a need for a change? Isn't there an argument to be made? It's good to have a Republican fighting for those things in their conference.
So you use the word seem a lot in that, and I can tell you that he says one thing here to appease his donors. He's sitting in a blue seat. He tries to appear moderate. But tell me, what is moderate about voting to take away health care from families in District 26? What is moderate about writing a bill that is only benefiting the top 1% in this country? They already have enough. We need to, instead of widen the income gap, we need to work and write a bill that's going to help middle-class families. So there's really nothing moderate about what he's doing in Washington. He may appear moderate by the words that he's saying, but I want to see some action, and I'm not seeing it.
So, and just again, I mentioned this in the last block, I'll mention it again. Carlos Curbelo, Congressman Curbelo, has a standing invitation to come on the show. I have invited him on numerous occasions to come in. He can come in. I make the same offer to you. I think that this is a very important congressional seat. I think this one and the 27th district, or the one where Ileana Ross-Layton is retiring, I think the entire country is going to be looking at these two districts. And so, you basically, both of you have a standing invitation to come in and talk the issues, because I think it's important. Communicating with the public, I know that, will you commit to holding town hall meetings if you're a member of Congress?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, at the end of the day, if I'm elected, if I have the honor of representing the families in this district, the individuals, the students in this district, I need to hear from them what their concerns are. What is it that we can do to make things better? I am completely committed to doing that, and we have to have that open line of communication. There's no reason why he hasn't done that, and he hasn't been available for the individuals in the district.
So let's talk about let's go through a little bit of before I move on to that, you heard the previous conversation we had about the DREAM Act. Carlos Curbelo it's unquestionable. He is arguing on behalf of Dreamers, and has from the outset that he's gotten there, and has taken a bold position of saying he will not continue to support funding the government unless the Dreamers are taken care of. Don't you agree with him on that?
Well, listen, again, there's a lot of talk, and I think what frustrates me is that I think he's playing a lot of political games with the lives of hundreds of thousands of Dreamers. His bill is much more conservative. We have a DREAM Act now with over 200 co-sponsors. Talk about being bipartisan. Again, I bring that up. Why is he not doing that? Why is he not signing on now? Why wait until we're at the edge of financial, disaster with the budget?
His office says that he would vote for that bill if that bill came to the floor.
Why not
and that
now?
He encourages, and he's encouraged Speaker Ryan to bring any of the bills, his bill, the 2017 DREAM Act bill, to the floor, and he would vote for it.
Look, I know that he's been approached to sign on to the bill now, and he's not doing it. So again, instead of saying things here and then doing other things in D.C., he should follow what he's saying. He should follow it with actions, and he should sign on to this. His DREAM Act, the RAC Act that he's advocating for, immediately eliminates about 300,000 immigrants and dreamers that are right now here in our district. We have tens of thousands of, like Carla was saying, teachers. I have met full-time students that have obtained scholarships that are studying to be doctors that are living in fear of deportation, and their parents as well. They're very, very scared. But they're Americans. This is the only country that they know. Why eliminate any of them? Why not sign on to the DREAM Act that is already supporting all of them right now?
We just have about a minute. I know climate change is another issue. Yeah. Actually, it's an issue I think you agree with Carlos Curbelo on, because Carlos Curbelo is also very supportive of recognizing the effects of climate change. What would you do?
Look, one of the things that I talk to families, again, I'm constantly talking to them in the district. We need to, and I'm curious as to why we haven't done this already. But instead of giving cuts to the top 1% and adding $1 trillion to our deficit, why not invest in sustainable infrastructure so that we can withstand the next storm? We need that investment now. And I think that's something that all of us can agree on.
15 seconds. What should we do about guns? Solve the problem of guns in 15 seconds.
Well, that's a personal issue for me. I think that we need to pass universal background checks now, and he has voted against that. I lost my father to gun violence, and so I am very committed to trying to finding solutions that we can actually promote more safety for our communities.
Debbie, I thank you very much for coming in. I think, as I said, this is a key race. We're going to explore the issues. I hope Carlos Curbelo will come in as well, and I can press him on these, and we'll continue to press you for answers as well.
Thank you, Jim.
We'll be right back after the break.